Happy Friday, everybody at Prime Sports World. Thank you very much for joining us for another edition of the crossover. I'm with David right there down below, TJ Hopkins. And today we're going to be talking about the Bulls' recent struggles, Steph Curry going down with injury, and what the future of Russell Westbrook. And then we're going to have a fun little start bench cut segment. If you're looking for some interesting content on Facebook, Prime Sports World, pretty good place to hang out for the last 5 days of the week, bringing the most up-to-date content. I also want to thank our friends over there, there's your Prime. Have a link to their website or our Facebook page, along with the free Facebook page. Well, PJ, happy Friday, man. How are you?
Same old, same old.
Did you partake in any St. Patrick's Day festivities? Uh,
No, I was up watching that Murray State San Francisco game, and I think that was the last game played last night, and it went.
it was
I
the only relevant game last night. It was like, I think the Kansas game was still on, but it was like super over.
Yeah, it was super over, and if your bracket ain't busted, well, it's busted. Like no one had St. Peter's upsetting
No,
Kentucky.
I had Kentucky going to the final, the Elite Eight in one of mine, and I know our good
Yeah,
friend, shout out to Christian Simpson, had him in winning the whole thing or in the final four.
you
So
know,
he's
like at least in the championship game, I think I had Kentucky Elite Eight in one, Final Four in another, something like that. But that is the beauty and the madness that is March Madness.
When it's one and done, literally anything can happen. If you missed our show on
Literally,
Wednesday, we literally did an NBA bracket where it was a one and done NBA tournament, where one team moved on, based on if they won or lost just one game. If you don't
one
watch the show,
game.
we did that on Friday. So check it out, or Wednesday. Check that out.
It's one game. And was it? I think Kentucky's. They have three players who are like really good.
Yeah,
They got a
Ty
they
Washington, the guy that leads the country in rebounding, probably gonna be a first
yeah,
round lottery pick.
right, and he played his ass off. I think he had like 28 points, 14 rebounds, something like that. It was their other. I think they had like two guards. They went to combine 3 of 19, and that's all it takes. That's literally all it takes is one player, one key player on your team to just have a horrible day where you're not getting the production from him that you're used to, and the other team takes advantage of it. And that's what happened to Kentucky yesterday. That's what happened to who else was the upset? That's what happened to Iowa.
Yeah, the
They get
Riders got him of Richmond.
Yeah, Richmond. Yeah, they got upset. A lot of people are coming down on Fran McCaffrey like, hey, maybe you should like actually recruit hoopers instead of just giving those scholarships to your sons, which has been a legitimate gripe of his against him the last few years. But it's neither here nor there. The dog days of the NBA, we are definitely in it
Yeah,
because
100%.
it is. I mean, like while it's still entertaining because a lot of teams still have stuff to play for. Like there's only two teams who have no, only one team really
One team
has
clinched the playoff spot.
one team that's clinched, and that's the Phoenix Suns. Memphis and Golden State, they're jockeying for that number two spot. The East is so wide open that it's
One through five is only split up by a few handful of games. Like
like
when it comes to, it's a pretty tight race. Like we have
it is.
so 6.5 is between 7 and 1, and 4.5, 5 and 1. So this NBA could shake up at any time. Let's first talk about our first topic for today. Is talk about the Chicago Bulls. They're 41-28. They're currently the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games, including losses to the Kings and the Hawks. But the Kings is notoriously a hard place to play. Their next game is tonight, where they go up against the Phoenix Suns in. What are you seeing are the issues with this Bulls team right now? With outside of, obviously they need to get healthy. I mean, like Alex Caruso came back and played pretty well his game first came back. Lonzo Ball, Patrick Williams, both of those guys are expected to come back at some point. But what do you see as the major problem with the Bulls right now, and why they haven't played well? Outside of they've played a really difficult schedule over that
it,
stretch. I mean, we're talking
it's
about games
cause
against the Jazz, the Bucks, the Heat, the Grizzlies, Sixers. Like those, that's a gauntlet of a schedule.
it's consistency. It's pride. It's it's a bunch of like DeMar DeRozan looks like he's like literally hit a wall, right? Like
Well, I
he
mean,
like
he's been carrying this team basically all season. I mean, everybody else has been in and out of the lineup besides him.
yeah, DeRozan looks like he's hit a wall. Some of these losses are inexcusable. Like I get the Kings are a tough place. Sacramento's a tough place to play, but you beat the Kings. I don't care. You beat the Kings. Atlanta has been horrible this season. You beat Atlanta, but that's also that stretch. They have remember that the Bulls had like a 3 game stretch where they were outshot at the free throw line like 90-25 or something like that.
Yeah.
That Atlanta and it kick started with that Atlanta game where like Trae Young outshot the Bulls' entire team from the free throw line, and it prompted everybody to be like, hey, oh, like no team is playing defense against like no team is playing defense that bad to the point where they're fouling and they're not getting fouls on the other end. Like it's absolutely crazy. They also had games where like they could have they had more chances to win it. They had a tough game against the Bucks in Chicago, which once again, Giannis outshot the entire team. Where it's like, okay, again, the Bulls are not driving to like they're not driving to the point to the hole to the point where they're not getting fouled, right?
I
So
mean,
you
DeMar
can
DeRozan gets killed on a lot of plays, like they just don't call it. So
and they just don't call it. So like that was a frustrating stretch to watch. Um, Tonight against Phoenix, like there's no reason for anybody to expect the Bulls to win. I think they're what are they like 0-12,
I think they're
0-14
0
against
1
the
and
top.
12 against teams with the top 5 seeds, the top 5 records in the NBA. Because yeah, they beat Utah I think, earlier this season. That's the only team. They haven't
That's the
beaten
only
Memphis. They haven't beaten Sixers.
that
They haven't
right,
beaten
and
Heat,
we
Bucks,
and we and
Suns,
right, and we just split with Utah, and we
Warriors.
had a chance to beat we had a chance to beat Utah the other night where they just allowed Donovan Mitchell to go berserk in one quarter. Donovan Mitchell literally beat us in one quarter, and there was in the fourth quarter, Donovan Mitchell didn't play for like 6 minutes, and the Bulls were down 10, and they never really made it a close game. And I'm like, yep, we're losing. We lost that game. I'm like, the minute we lost that, the minute I recognized that, I'm like, Donovan Mitchell's not in the game, and we can't get any kind of push. I'm like, yeah, we're losing this game. And you couldn't have asked, especially Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine tried. He tried his damnedest to keep us in the game, and he did all he could. DeMar was missing shots that he's been hitting all season. Vooch has been in a shooting slump for most of the season, and I know he's frustrated. I know for a fact Vucevic is frustrated
Well,
because he
his
knows
fit on this team has always kind of been murky at best. Like how he fits on the team.
his fit is like, and I don't get why people are saying that. What do you mean? Like, what is his fit? He's supposed
Like
he's a pick and
so
pop
like
dude. He's a low post
so
threat.
but I think like we need more of a defensive presence at the 5 position. He just doesn't bring that on a night to night basis.
Like, oh,
And
okay,
I mean he's not a particularly great shooter from out the outside. I mean he's okay. I mean he can get by, but I would almost rather he post as opposed to shooting as much as
he hasn't been a particularly great 3-point shooter this season.
he does. Yeah. Okay.
So, and the thing about Vooch is, has he? Okay, so you say we need more of a defensive presence at the 5. Has Vucevic ever been a defender? Like, let me answer that question.
No, but that's where I'm saying like we need somebody who's going to be a more of a defensive minded player at the 5. Like we just need it. Like in general, like we need a defensive guy that's going to be more of a defensive minded guy in the 5.
To do what?
Play defense against the premier big men in national basketball.
How many premier big men are in the NBA?
Embiid, I mean,
3.
Giannis plays the 5 a lot for the Bucks. I mean that's the only 2 that really matter right now.
Okay, so Joel Embiid is really the only one who is a low post threat. Giannis has no post game, so no matter what big man you get, you plop him against Giannis, you're at a defensive disadvantage.
That's
So So all of this talk of you need to stop it. Vucevic is fine. Like Vucevic, he is who he
He
is,
hasn't been as efficient as people would like him. You know, that's
and he hasn't been as efficient as he would like to be. So if it's
yeah, true.
frustrating for the fans, how do you think it feels? Like how do you think the player himself feels when you know Vuce can hit the not, you know Vuce can hit an open knockdown shot and it's not falling for
I
him.
mean,
You
but
know,
still, I mean, this dude's averaging 18 and 11, and this is another guy who's been one of the cogs of the team. Everybody else on this team has missed time besides him and DeMar DeRozan. I mean, Nikola, who's just been the staple of consistency. I think he's missed like 5 games this entire season. So maybe the
and
season's
he's
wearing on him, but it's
and
a
he's
long
top
season.
five and he's top five in double doubles. But you know, I have a cousin.
He's missed 7 games. 7.
I have a cousin. I have a cousin. I love him to death. He's like the Bulls need a superstar, and I'm like, nah. Like
That
a
could be a
team full of.
superstar. What do you mean? Like, come on.
I'm like no. I'm like a team. But even if they're not, even if you don't qualify them as superstars, a team full of all stars beats one superstar any day of the week because it's a numbers game, right? He's talking about we should have traded for Damian Lillard and gave up who? We don't.
I mean,
You can't get. I was trying to explain to him. You realize you don't get a Damian Lillard without gutting the team, which puts us right back in the same position that we're in.
Damian Lillard's making $40 million. So in order to trade, we have to send $40 million worth of contracts. And who do you think is like Zach LaVine's going to be gone? Like Lonzo Ball will have to probably be gone in order to match that salary.
Like
Trading for Damian Lillard doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
so.
But
What are
back
the
to this season, like how
what
do
are
the
the
Bulls correct?
issues? I mean, winning is a winning is a funny cure all. I mean, if somehow, some way, some miracle they beat Phoenix tonight, right? That takes a huge burden off of your shoulders. Like you can sleep a little easier. I also want to know who the hell made the Bulls schedule for them to get for them to face the second hardest win percentage down the stretch, right?
Well,
Obviously,
I don't think they could have predicted how good Cleveland would be at this point
no, but I, you kind no, but like no, you kind of know like based off of like how teams did the season before. Phoenix was a finals team last season. Milwaukee won the championship. Memphis was projected to take a leap forward. Like they didn't know how big of a leap, but they took a huge leap forward. Everybody knew Golden State was gonna come back healthy, locked and loaded, ready to go. And obviously, like they've had some stuff not go their way. Like Boston is surging right now. Boston gets, and we'll get into this. They get a Warriors team that loses Steph Curry in the middle of the game, and and Golden State look like shell shocked. And I'm like, why the hell can't the Bulls ever get a break like that? Like
we don't ever want those kind of breaks.
like not like, but it's
Eventually,
a break. It's a break nonetheless. Like like Miami catches a break where Harden don't play in Miami, and Joel Embiid has an awful game, but they play the Bulls, and it's like miracle tonic. Harden's hamstring is all of a sudden healthy. Joel Embiid got a good night's sleep, and they just they just go to work on the Bulls. Like we just can't never get a break like that.
I think another thing is that this Bulls team just needs to get healthy, and they need to build up a continuity because we have players that are playing outside of their established role. So because they've had to take on more of their responsibility. So like when Lonzo Ball gets back, when Patrick Williams gets back, kind of players would shift back into their normal situation. Sumo would go back to the bench, either 6-man, first man off the bench, backup point guard, or so however that wasn't working out. You move whoever's starting at the 4 right now on a night-to-night basis, change game.
And Io's been great.
He's been really good. Like I'm not taking anything away from him, but
not taking it. Io's been really good this season. I said it when we talked about him like earlier when I was at the hospital for my sister. Like Io's not gonna get any Rookie of the Year consideration. He's not. It is what it is. He's not. But that does not take away from the fact that the guy
I think he'll get a vote or two.
They'll get a vote. Like when
I don't think Rookie of the Year is going to be unanimous.
when I say he's not going to get consideration, like no one's picking him to win the award is what I'm getting
I
at.
got you. Yeah, I understand.
And but that does not take away from the fact that he's done everything the Bulls have asked him to do.
And
He
then some. I mean, as a second round
and
pick,
then
I mean,
some.
you could never have imagined how good he'd be at this point of the season. Like, really, they
Like,
struck gold. They struck gold with that guy.
and it's amazing. It's amazing confidence that Billy Donovan has showed in him, because Billy guarding Donovan Mitchell is no tough, like that. That's no easy task. Guarding what's his name, Devin Booker, not an easy task. Guarding Steph Curry is not an easy. Like, you're asking a second round rookie, although he's older, right? He was a 3 year guy coming out of college. He's older. You're still asking him to guard some of the most elite guards in the NBA, and sometimes he holds his own, sometimes he doesn't. It is what it is. Like, that's the name of the game. But
I
for
mean,
them to get for them to get Lonzo
he's been awesome.
Ball, yeah, he's been awesome. Like, for them to get Lonzo and Patrick Williams back, this is a starting five that's only played what, 5 games together?
5 games.
Five,
Patrick Williams was injured after.
right? Five. Like, so it's been a mismatch of lines. I mean, it's the season, right? Like, you can never really be
I mean,
prepared for
injuries
who gets
happen.
hurt.
It's part of the,
Yeah,
like, you have a deep roster for just in
for a
case injuries
reason.
do happen. So, like, when you have an injury, you have somebody who can step in, and, like, you know, Javante Green has stepped in admirably as starting small forward / power forward, however you want to list those guys that are changeable part road. Like, but
but
like
but then
Derrick Jones Jr. has been good spurts for them too. So, like, this is a team that's, dealt with a lot of adversity, and they fought through it. And so now I think now that we're getting to the dog days of the NBA season, like, I think, like, DeMar DeRozan's getting a little bit burnt out. I think Miquel Bridges is getting a little bit burnt out by logging all of these. Like, DeMar DeRozan's playing 36 minutes a night. That's a lot of toll on a guy who's over 30. Um, but yeah, I mean, if the Bulls can get healthy and see what they got when the Bulls get healthy, the team can right the ship. They're going to be okay, I think.
and
I am concerned about them in the playoffs a little bit, but
yeah,
that's a concern.
but that's a concern that, like, I was like, and we talked about that too. Like, how many times have the Bulls like beat some of the top teams in the East in the regular season, but in the playoffs they get dissected and destroyed, because it's a series. Like, we can actually zero in on what you do really well and try to exploit what you don't do well. So everybody, the Bulls ain't be the top team. Da, 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 da. Okay, in the playoffs we can dive in. Like, let's say somehow we get matched up with Miami. Miami don't do one thing special. Right? They don't do anything. They don't do one thing special
Well,
that
they
really
defend without fouling.
like
Special.
they don't somehow some way they defend without fouling like that. And if I'm a player, I'm like, bro, how the hell am I playing D and I'm fouling, but I'm doing the same thing that they're doing and they're not fouling. Right? We're both playing the same kind of physical ball, but somehow, some way, they get the pass and I don't. And that's the silver lining, where it's like, that's where it gets iffy. So, like, you can't sit here and tell me that they playing defense just that good to the point where they're not fouling, and I am. That's the silver lining. But again, offensively, Miami doesn't do one thing special. They don't.
And we talked about this a few times when that stat keeps coming up, where the Bulls have only, like, one of the top 5 record teams in the NBA only once. Like, 4 of those teams are in the Western Conference. So the only way they only have to worry about one of those at any point
Is
during the playoffs.
it
I mean,
if they
like,
go to the finals.
yeah, if they go to the finals, like, everyone's like, oh, they never beaten. They have no wins against the top 5 record teams in the NBA. I'm like, 4 of those teams are in the West. Like, we're not gonna have to play them when we go to the finals. Stop freaking out. It'll be fine. Let's swing it over from the other story. We got the Warrior woes. Steph Curry done for the rest of the regular season. He's got a left foot sprain. 47 and 23. They're currently the 3 seed in the Western Conference. They're 3.5 games ahead of Utah Jazz and Dallas Mavericks. Do you think the Warriors keep this 3rd seed with the Curry injury?
Well, to dive into the injury itself, it was
Yeah, so left
Luke.
foot sprain. He'll go under further evaluation with specialists.
Yeah, It was a
It's hoping that he'll be back by the start of the playoffs.
It was a loose ball on the floor, and Marcus Smart doing what Marcus Smart always does. He makes the gritty play. He does stuff like that. He dives for the ball, and Steph Curry just so happened to be there. I am not going to say it was a dirty play because obviously, like whenever you play, you're not trying to injure somebody. You're just making the play for the ball.
Yeah.
And some Warriors fans like, oh, Marcus Smart's a dirty player. No, he was just making a play for the ball, and he doesn't make that play if the guy that's closer to the ball, which is Jason Tatum, and who has the better angle to dive on the ball to the point where he doesn't injure Steph Curry. If Tatum does what he does, if Tatum does that, Marcus Smart doesn't do that. Thus, Steph Curry doesn't get hurt. So if you want to be mad at somebody, blame Jason Tatum because yeah, Jason Tatum why can't you get dirty, bruh? You was right there. You was
this is not a dirty play. Like literally, Marcus Smart was making
it's not a dirty play.
He was trying to drive onto the basketball. It's loose ball. It's not a dirty play. Like whoever, people who say it's a dirty play, either they've never played basketball before in their entire lives. This stuff just happens.
It's the same thing that Malcolm Hill did to LeBron. Like he's diving. No, not Malcolm Hill. Solomon Hill. He's diving for a loose ball. LeBron just happened to be there, and I'm not thinking about injuring you. I'm thinking about getting the ball for my team. But can the Warriors keep the third seed if they play anything like they did after Steph Curry went out? Then no.
Well, I mean, he's the cog that makes everything go. They don't have anybody on their roster that they can plug in and play Steph Curry. I mean, Jordan Poole's a good player, but like Steph Curry runs their whole offense. Straw that stirs that drink.
Like, and speaking of guys who hit a wall, Klay Thompson hit a wall, right? Like, and that was definitely expected. Like, you're asking the guy to come back and try to be his old self when he hasn't played a meaningful game in 2.5 years. Like, that's a lot. You're giving Klay Thompson 30 minutes a game where he's not there yet.
I mean, he has moments. I mean, he had that Milwaukee pretty clearly played pretty well. He had 30. His other percentages, like basically 30%, 35% from the field, shooting at basically 30% from the 3-point line, including 9% from the 3-point line against Boston. So I mean, yeah, he's in a bit of a shooting slump, but like, and yeah, for him not to have not played in 2 years, for him to, yeah, it's normal for him to hit the ball.
And so I get it. Like, fans only care about, like, yo, when you're out, like when the Warriors are playing, they see what number does he wear? 11. He's 11, right? Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Like they see Golden State, they see 11, they see Thompson on the back. They don't care about you hitting a slump and being in the shooting slump and being tired or hitting the wall. They expect that sharpshooter that has been gracing their presence since you've been in the NBA. The Draymond Green is back, more power to him. But again, you're not asking Draymond to be a scoring threat. Anything Draymond gives you offensively is the icing on the cake that is the Golden State Warriors offense. Jordan Poole, that's a lot of responsibility for a guy who's never been in the situation. You're asking him to basically hold it down until Steph Curry gets back. That's
100%.
That's a tough ask. Like, is he more than capable? Like, is he gonna accept the challenge? Yeah, he is, because Jordan Poole is up for some money. Jordan Poole trying to get paid, and more power to him.
Same thing with Jordan Poole. Didn't you mention about his getting extended, or was that just speculation?
That's a no. What I sent you was, I think they were that was what he could get.
I think he's gonna get more than that, but
And I'm trying to think,
he continues to play like this.
And this is also a starting five that continuity is a thing, right? Their projected starting five is, what would you say?
Well, Kevon Looney, Wiggins, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, or Draymond Green. Sorry, Draymond Green.
But like normally, like we already know, like if Wiseman's here and healthy, he's the starting five. So
Maybe.
no, it is. It
Okay. I mean,
seven 7 foot tall, can stretch the floor, can run. Yeah, I'm starting him over Kevon Looney. Kevon Looney is not a start. Like he's shown like he fits their system as a starting five, but there are 29 other teams where Kevon Looney would not start on unless it's like the bottom feeder of the NBA,
you're you're
right?
you're you're, you're right. Right.
So, so a projected starting five of Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, Wiseman. I don't think that starting five has played any games together. Why? Because Clay's been out, and not too long after
They
that,
for sure haven't played a single game together. Like
and
100. That's
and,
not
and
even like you don't even have to like guess. They for sure haven't played a single game.
so Wiseman, like you're gonna bring Wiseman back unless you're content with what you got now, and you try to go into the playoffs with what you got. Just get Clay back. I mean Clay, get Steph back, and go at it. Go to war with the guys you got, and then bring Wiseman into the fold at the start of the new season, which is what kind of what I would do, me personally.
That's what I
But
probably would do because reports are that Wiseman hasn't looked particularly good in the G League right now. So maybe it's best just to like start him fresh next season
and they're
instead of throwing him into a high pressure situation in a playoff series where like if they were to play the series playoffs right now as we did in the March Madness stuff they would play Denver and that will not be any.
yeah,
Him having to guard Nikola Jokic like basically not stepping on the NBA floor for an entire season. Good luck.
and him having to guard Nikola Jokic and a motivated DeMarcus Cousins who is not a slut like DeMarcus Cousins. Ain't no he been hurt a lot, but he ain't no bum. Right, like he he ain't a bum. So and you got a Dallas team who's Dallas ain't getting talked about enough either. Like they are playing great basketball right now. Utah, same thing. I think Utah is obviously with the internal stuff with Mitchell and Gobert. I think they can put their personal issues with each other aside long enough to see what happens this season.
I agree with you.
Um,
I'm not sure
I
that's even a debate.
I think I mean like if they fall short, then
Well,
it
obviously, I
is.
mean, if they end up, getting bounced in the first round of the playoffs, I think there could be a conversation to be had. But if I think for this season, I think they'll be okay. Um, but
But the
this
Warriors
really
also,
depends. I mean,
but
Warriors people, they
they
need to
yeah the
start to come back.
Warriors yeah the Warriors just like the Bulls like they before the Bulls like they had a stretch where they went 3-7 in their last 10 or something like that. Like not this current stretch, but they had a slump where it's like, hey, that's not normal. That's not the Golden State Warriors that we're used to,
Yeah, I mean the
right?
Warriors. I mean before this 4 game winning streak, but before they lost five in a row, and then they lost 7 of 8 at one point before they won 4 games in a row, and then lost to Boston. Obviously, Clay got hurt during the game. So yeah,
So
this is the Warriors because we did this on the last show. We talked about our maybe 2 shows ago where we talked about the
yeah,
Warriors have struggled a little bit. I mean, it all kind of Steph Curry's been in a bit of a shooting slump ever since he tried to get the record in one night. I mean, he hasn't really shot the ball as well since then.
and that was a situation where he also leads the league in obviously I think he leads the league in 3-point makes as well as 3-point attempts a
Okay, I'm
game. I
sure he
think
does.
like but it was like magnified during that stretch because I think during that stretch where he was like trying to break the record, he was shooting like 13, 14 threes a game.
I mean, he didn't make a whole lot of sense.
And I obviously like you have more faith in the Warriors to turn it around than the Bulls because again the Bulls is a relatively new team. Right? All the pieces on the Bulls is new, and they got to find a way to gel and mesh together and build their continuity. The Warriors, on the other hand, they have it. Their guys are just out.
I mean,
Right?
there's a
Like that,
pedigree there when it comes to Golden State. There's a pedigree of winning. Or
and
do I
that's
think
not.
Golden State can keep the third seed without Steph Curry the rest of the season? I don't think so. I
I
think
mean, it's gonna be
you look at Dallas and
it's
you
gonna
look how
be
well
tough.
Dallas is playing right now. I think Dallas can catch
Like it's gonna be really tough for them to do that, and yeah, it's gonna be tough. Like, can they do it? Yes. Is it possible? Absolutely. But will we be shocked if they drop to like the 4 seed? No, not at all.
No,
Because
I wouldn't be at all. Not at all.
The West is a
But
gauntlet.
this is a team that has championship pedigree, so you don't necessarily need the number one seed in the conference to get to the finals. I mean, teams have shown that year after year after year that you don't need to be the one seed to go to the finals. Doesn't home field advantage is semi overrated.
Yeah, like especially in the NBA, like is the 1 seed ain't the end. Like we're the 1 seed. Yeah, how many? It's not the pass
I
that
don't
you
even
think it
remember the
is.
last one seed that made the finals.
Milwaukee won the 1 seed. No, they weren't.
No, they weren't. They were the 3 seed.
Wow.
And yeah, the Phoenix was the 2 seed. Like the last 1 seed. I'm gonna look that up. We'll pop it in the chat and look it up. But yeah, the 1 seed in either conference is what it used to be. I mean, the Bulls used to be the 1 seed every season, never made the finals. So
Never made the finals.
and then moving on from here, of course, we gotta talk about the Lakers. What will Russell Westbrook do
hmm
this offseason? He has a $47 million player option for 2022-23 season. Lakers currently 29-40, currently ninth in the Western Conference. If this play-in season was not a thing, their season would essentially be over already. Westbrook, 18.7 rebounds, 7 assists, nearly career low percentages and efficiency. Um, if you're Russ, would you consider declining that option and just going somewhere else, anywhere else? Because people are he's getting heckled at home games. They're calling him Westbrook during shoot arounds. And I was at the LA Fitness here in Tinley Park yesterday or the
hmm
day before, and there were people shouting out Westbrook at people who shoot jump shots as if that was like an insult. Like, is that supposed to be an insult? Like, you like Westbrook? Like what? Like, it's ridiculous, man. Like you understand Westbrook is like gonna be a Hall of Famer. Like you're gonna like.
And so to answer your initial question, should Russell Westbrook decline his option? Yes, yes, he should because for 90% of the Lakers season, he's been the blame, right? The team doesn't play well, but somehow, some way, it always goes back to it being mostly his fault, which to me makes absolutely zero sense. And the media does not help, especially those on Undisputed. Like, you're supposed to be biased, right?
Unfortunately, not biased.
Like,
The opposite of that.
like
You're
you're
supposed to be
supposed
impartial. You're not supposed to be
like
biased.
right. Like you're supposed to be biased and impartial. You're supposed to like that. Like if you want to be in this business, that's what you're supposed to do. And Skip Bayless has routinely called him like he's routinely said he's never been a fan of Russell Westbrook. So whenever you talk about him, you're already coming in with a biased precondition. Like you don't like the guy. So you should be disqualified from ever passing judgment on him. Even when Russ was at his apex and getting triple doubles, you found a way to downplay it. So with that like that, so if I'm Westbrook, of course I'm never gonna say anything to you or about you because no matter what I say, you're gonna find holes and you're gonna nitpick and you know disregard it. Now Westbrook himself, he doesn't do himself any favors with how he talks to the media and all this other stuff. But if you follow Westbrook his entire career, that's always how he talks. Like that's
True.
how he's had. Like that's literally who he is.
But
The
$47 million is a lot of money, and the chances of him recuperating close to that on the open
he
market.
that is fine. That is fine. That is okay. It like he's the only player that gets killed for saying basketball ain't the end all be all. Because when he says basketball ain't the end all be all, he gets like now people misconstrue. Oh, you don't care about winning. Like no, I'm saying
How many
basketball.
players in the NBA are in commercials all the time and make movies? And come on, man, these guys.
Like no, he's
Obviously,
like
people all want to have because basketball is only a short part of these guys' lives. Like it's really only like 15 years. Well, maybe not. Professional anyways. It's really only
right.
professionally 15 years of your overall life. and you're going to live a lot longer than 15 years. Like you're not going to drop dead as
Well,
soon as you retire. Like this is the way it works. But, God forbid.
like he,
But
I don't care.
I would be. I'm going to be honest with you. I'd be shocked if he signed that $7 million option. Like
Well,
we're talking about him potentially leaving
if he doesn't
40,
decline it,
$30 million
no,
on the table.
no, because if the Lakers are so miserable with Russell Westbrook on the team, if it's gotten to that point, why don't y'all just do what any sane team would do, regardless of the money, and just eat it, cut him. If he's that bad, if he's that unbearable, if it's that too far gone, and you don't want to do another season of Russell Westbrook, just cut him. Because again, you had your chance. You had your chance to move him. You had your chance to move him. All you had to do was beat Portland. All you had to do was beat Portland. And what happened? You lost to Portland without help. So if you're the Lakers, you're damned if you do. You're damned because you lost. Like with him, you're losing, and it seems you're gonna lose without him. So stop trying to blame Russell Westbrook for your shortcomings and just say, hey, we as a team, we suck. Like you're 0-9, like you're 0-9 since the All-Star break when LeBron doesn't score 50 points.
That's quite the stat.
So that means you're 2-9 when LeBron scores 50 points. And if you want to be mad at somebody, again, be mad at the guys who aren't there. I'm never gonna be like, yes, Westbrook could be shooting a hell of a lot better. Y'all don't think this shit is getting to him, because it clearly is.
Sure is. He's not having a good time.
And again, 18-7-7. You know how many players would kill for 18-7-7?
A lot.
To be
a lot.
Like 18. So for Patrick Beverly and Karl Anthony Towns, especially Karl Anthony Towns, for you to be clowning Westbrook off an air ball, it's like, dude, you've been in the league 7 years, you've made one playoff appearance, and you clowning somebody. If your careers were to both end today, he's going to the Hall. Cat, where the hell are you going? Because it ain't the Hall.
Sure, not the Hall. It's anywhere remotely close to the Hall.
So again, be mad at the guys who ain't there. AD in and out of the lineup. He was the guy that's supposed to take over. He's supposed to be the next mantle, the next face of the Los Angeles Lakers. Anthony Davis has not shown that he is ready for that mantle at all.
No, he doesn't have the fire. He doesn't have the work ethic. He doesn't fear. And I mean, if anybody wants to, if we want to talk about anybody when it comes to the Lakers' shortcomings, it should be Anthony Davis. The fact that he's regularly unavailable, and when he has been available, he's been extremely lackadaisical. He just kind of seems like he's going through the motions. It's very unsettling to see the work ethic that Anthony Davis shows on the floor from a night-to-night basis. He just doesn't seem to have that fire, like the honest fire. Like I'd like to see that fire out of Anthony Davis, like a guy who's already knows he's the best player in the world, then plays harder than anybody else in the world. Like that's what you want to see on Anthony Davis. You want to see him outworking everyone else, and he just doesn't have. He doesn't bring that to the table on a night basis.
Kendrick Nunn messed up his knee in the off season, like preseason, like training camp, like bumped his knee on the table or something like that. Kendrick Nunn ain't played a whole game. Like he hasn't played at all. Like Austin Reeves, an undrafted shooting guard out of Oklahoma State, I think, is in your starting lineup. You played how many games? 29 and 40. David, do math. What's that? 69 games.
Oklahoma. So he went to Oklahoma.
Oh, you went to Oklahoma. So what? You played 69 games. Yeah. You've probably had 36, 37, maybe 38 different starting lineups. Right, but you want to blame you want to blame all your shortcomings on this guy. On like you had damn near 40 different starting lineups, but it's Russell Westbrook's fault. It's his fault. It's all his fault. You know.
I mean, yeah. I always go back swing back to like when you watch them in the half court, it's painful to watch. And
But that's
if
just
you're like and like television executives, stop putting them on TV. Nobody wants to watch the Lakers team struggle to score points in the half court, struggle to defend anyone on the other side of the floor. Like, just please, for the sake of everyone that everything that is holy, stop putting them on TV. I would much rather watch the Clippers, whoever they're playing. I'd rather watch the Portland Trailblazers at this point. I would much rather watch. I don't even know anybody else. Sacramento. Give me something else.
and
Anything.
and you're asking LeBron at year 19 age, 37 to play 40 minutes a game. You're playing Carmelo, who's 35 or 36, however old he
He's
is.
37. He's a year older than LeBron.
Okay, so he's also
He's,
37. You're also asking him to play significant minutes in the game. You don't know what to do with Dwight Howard. He's in and out, more out than in. And then you
when
wonder
he
why.
is in, he hasn't looked good at all. So like
And you wonder why that is, because it's like, damn, I'm asking Dwight Howard to be special this one game when I haven't played him. He has like six straight DNPs, and then I'm asking him to go guard DeAndre Ayton, and then I'm wondering why he's getting worked by maybe it's because he hasn't played in 8 games.
and not to mention he's so I mean he's a shell of his former self. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but he's a relic of his old what he used to be. And like when it comes to players in the NBA, like he is not what he used to be at any stretch of the imagination.
I'm asking Trevor Ariza to guard wing defenders, like to guard wings, like some of the like the most athletic position in the NBA is probably would be the wing position, right? Small forward position. Those six, like because they range from anywhere from like 6'5" to Kevin Durant, who's 7 foot tall. And
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
mean,
hey Trevor Reeves, I'm just gonna need you to guard, Devin Booker one night after you don't play for 5, 6, 7 games in a row. I'm just gonna ask you to, try your best.
I mean
Be like,
this Laker roster never made a whole lot of sense when to begin with. When we both did our Spanish bracket, we both didn't have the Lakers even making the playoffs. The team just stinks. Like, there's no way to dice it up. It's not a good basketball at all. And if
but
I
no,
was
like
Russell Westbrook, as much as I would hate to leave $47 million on the table, I would
I got
probably
you,
opt out of my
I got
contract
you.
just so I can have freedom to play somewhere else, anywhere else.
And if I'm Russell Westbrook, I am absolutely offended that you even entertained the idea of trading me to Houston for John Wall, for a guy who hasn't played at all. At least I can say I'm fucking playing. Like
Yeah,
John
John Wall
Wall,
hasn't played meaningful basketball in like 5 years, like literally
and
5
I
years.
don't even and what kind of difference do you expect John Wall to make on this Lakers team? Like you said, he hasn't played meaningful basketball.
Well, I think the only reason that conversation even came up because he's the only contract that can go straight for flop. Nobody's trading for him.
So if I'm if
Not
I'm
happening.
Russ, if I'm Russ, obviously, I'm trying to show that this season is not getting to me with the answers that I give the media. Like they asked him about the trash talk that he received from the Timberwolves. He's like they haven't said that, they ain't say nothing to make me go, oh, you talking about me, because they haven't done anything in this league to warrant me giving that reaction. And in reality, goddamn it, he's right. Like the Timberwolves have been a poverty franchise for 20 years.
I mean,
Same
the
thing
only
with
time they had
Sacramento.
success was when they had Jimmy Butler and when they had Kevin.
Like,
Other than when they had like Tom Gugliotta, which is like 30 years ago.
and it's the same thing with Sacramento. Like he had a horrible shooting game against Sacramento, and they played Ice Ice Baby, and he's like, that's funny for them to do that. Where like Westbrook can literally say, I've accomplished more than your entire franchise.
Sacramento should not be making fun. Should not be trash talking really anybody. They traded away a future star to try to make the playoffs this season. They've regressed. So Sacramento, please sit down. Let's move on from Russell Westbrook. Let's talk a little bit about our start bench cut. And this is our free agency edition. As all of you may know, the NFL free agency is going on right now, where players are signing new contracts, signing new deals, signing extensions. So I thought it'd be fun to take a look back at free agency signing 2021 before the season started and do a start bench cut for those guys. So the only players eligible for this start bench cut edition are people that signed a new contract, signed an extension this offseason. So let's get started. You ready?
Mhm.
First one: Luka, Kawhi, Trey. Start bench
Luka,
cut.
you said Luka, Kawhi, and Trey, like Trey Young.
Yeah.
Oh,
Start bench cut. Go.
well, I'm starting Luka.
Over Kawhi?
Yeah, because
Huh.
he's there. He's there, right? Like,
Let's just talk about careers. Talk about careers.
oh, like no injuries, no
No
injuries at
injuries.
all. All right. Well, that's case.
Who is the
Yeah.
better basketball player? Kawhi Leonard or Luka Doncic when they're both fully
Ooh.
healthy?
Yeah, both. Well, because Kawhi plays better defense, it's obviously it's Kawhi.
So you're
So
still
yeah,
taking Luka? You still start Luka?
yeah, because I know at some point Kawhi gonna get hurt and he gonna be out for like 2 years. But even that being said, like I would have to bench him. I would have to bench Kawhi, and I'm cutting Trae Young because he's a defensive liability. And again, you can't have one year where it's you're trying to elevate yourself, and then the next season you just completely do this. Like you led a team to the Eastern Conference Finals literally just last year, and now you're scraping for the play-in.
I would have
Like,
to agree with you, except yeah, I'm going to start Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi
of
Leonard,
course,
probably the best, you know, probably the
two-way
best
guy.
two-way basketball player maybe ever. I think
I no, I no no.
I think he's certainly in the discussion of the best two-way player ever. Um,
Okay,
because
because
his offensive game has taken off, and like he has twice he's been traded for, which has led directly to a title. So when San Antonio traded George Hill for Kawhi Leonard, that basically led directly to the title. When the Raptors traded for him, it led directly to the title. None of the other two guys on this say that. I'm going to start Kawhi
that's
Leonard.
true.
I'm going to bench Luka. I'm going to cut Trae Young. Moving on to the next one. I think this one's going to be a little bit. I think the last one was tough, but I think this one's tougher.
Yeah,
John
yeah.
Collins, Jaren Jackson, Jared Allen, start bench cut. Go.
I start. Oh, I'll start Jackson Jr. because he's more of an offensive threat and he can block shots. I'm benching Jared Allen and I'm cutting John Collins.
I have the same thing as you, except I have Jaren Jackson Jr. and Jared Allen flipped. I just haven't seen enough out of Jaren Jackson Jr. I know he's been pretty good this season. I know I think he leads the league in blocks by a pretty substantial margin. But I'm going to take Jared Allen as my starter. I'm going to bench Jaren Jackson Jr. Yeah, I'm going to bench John Collins. All right, next one. Chris Paul, SGA, DeMar DeRozan, start bench cut.
Damn. You go first. What you got?
Um, I guess I'm going to start DeMar DeRozan. This is tough. Man, I'm gonna bench Chris Paul and cut SGA. But I think there's no real wrong answer here. I mean, if you wanted to, if you wanted to be like, hey, I think SGA's ceiling is extremely high, and I think he should be the guy to start. And then you know whatever you do with the rest of them, I don't know. It's tough. I'm gonna start DeMar DeRozan. I'm gonna bench Chris Paul. I'm gonna cut SGA as much as I can.
So yeah, the problem with some of these young dudes, like an SGA, is you're banking on him hitting that ceiling where anything can happen. Like he could get hurt, he can like just straight up fall off. He like a lot can happen for him to not break through this mythical ceiling that we place on players. Now I'm not saying it's not gonna happen because SGA has all the right tools to be special in today's NBA, right?
Just,
But with that being, and not to mention, spending a year under Chris Paul does go a long way. So I would start Chris Paul because his impact, no matter where he goes, is evident. Again, He goes to that OKC team. We're thinking he's gonna want a buyout or a trade, and he's like, "No, I'm gonna tough it out." And he leaves them to like what, the fifth seed in the West.
Yeah, I mean, something like that. Yeah, something like that. I mean, they were extremely good. Nobody expected them to be close to as good as they were. So
And I'm gonna bench DeMar because I'm not. If you ask me to choose, yeah, in this situation, SGA is the odd man out.
I agree with you on that, but that's tough. I actually think that's pretty tough.
Yeah, yeah. In this equation, SGA is the odd man. Like he's the odd man out. No one in their right mind is picking SGA over Chris Paul, and they're not picking him over DeMar DeRozan. It's not happening.
Okay. Next one, we got four more. Next one, Lonzo Ball, Devontae Graham, Spencer Dinwiddie, start bench cut.
Starting Lonzo, benching Dinwiddie, cutting Devontae Graham. Easy.
100% agree with you on that. Yeah. Moving on to the last one, or the third to the last one. We got Miquel Bridges, Norman Powell, Gary Trent Jr., start bench cut.
I'm starting Gary Trent Jr. because he has just been a monster. I'm benching Norman Powell, and this is tough because Miquel Bridges has thrown his name into the DPOY conversation
He
quietly.
has, 100%. I'm actually going to disagree with you. I'm going to start with Miquel Bridges for that reason alone.
That's cool.
You could have him defend your best player, the best player on your opposing team, and he showed he's been capable of doing that. I'm going to take Gary Trent Jr. I never understood why Portland traded him in the first place. He's young, he's athletic, he can really score. And then I'm cutting Norman Powell in a decision I don't love because I actually really like Norman Powell. But Miquel Bridges gives so much more on both ends of the floor. He's so valuable to what they do.
Well, I
without
think because
him, they'd be in trouble.
And you persuaded me to change my pick. So I think because of the team he plays on, because Phoenix is like they have like so much firepower, Miquel Bridges doesn't have to give you much on the offensive end, right? So he's in a situation where he can like really just focus. Like he's like Draymond. Like I don't have to score. I can literally just focus on defense.
And the great other thing great about Miquel Bridges is that he's comfortable in his role. Like he's accepted. Like he could easily be like, hey, I want some more touches. I want it. Like he's realized that hey, winning basketball requires sacrifice. In order for me to play winning basketball, I have to sacrifice some portion of the game. He sacrificed a little bit on the offense. I mean, it's fine. But he's been awesome. Like you can make the argument he should win Defensive Player of the Year.
100%.
All right, Michael Porter Jr., Duncan Robinson, Lauri Markkanen.
I don't like none of these. I'm just playing. Again, this is a guy who like you're banking, or all three of these dudes, you're banking on ceiling. Michael Porter Jr. probably has the highest ceiling. He's 6'10", and if he ever figures if the game ever slows down to him, my God, watch out. Offensively, he's fine.
I mean, he should probably try to get on the floor before the game will slow down for him.
Well, obviously, you know that's been the issue, right? If he ever strings a stretch together where he can play all 82, like if he has like a 3-year stretch and he's able to grow in that 3-year stretch where he's not just using his athletic ability, because right now he's still young, and that's also what's kind of troubling about him. Like you're young, you had 2 back issues and a knee, right? Yeah, 2 back issues and a knee. And luckily, and I guess the good thing is about this most recent back issue is you're coming back, right?
I mean,
like your other 2 issues were like season ending, you know. This issue, like this, and I don't know if it's like you making the decision to say, hey, I'm coming back, like no ifs ands or buts about it. Like obviously you want to be smart because you want to extend your career. Like you want to play the game as long as you can, and you don't want to shorten it in any way, shape, or form by rushing back or anything like that. Lauri Markkanen, again, he's trying to prove himself. He's on his second team. He was obviously hoping to stay in Chicago a lot longer than what he did. And Cleveland is obviously not taking a chance on them, but because it's not taking a chance on the guy you have the utmost faith in.
I think they sure took a dice.
You think they rolled the dice on him?
I think I don't know. I don't know if they knew what they were going to get out of him. Signing that contract. They were just like, hey, this guy's nearly 7 feet tall. He can shoot basketball. Maybe we can revive his career. We're gonna roll the dice on it.
Who's the third? Who's the third guy you said?
Duncan Robinson.
I'm cutting him. So I'm like, no, I'm cutting him. Like he's had, I think his numbers across the board are down this season.
Yeah, he hasn't been like great since he signed basically signed the contract. So I don't disagree with you. I'm probably going to start MPJ. I'm actually going to bench Duncan Robinson. I think he does one thing better than Lauri Markkanen does, and even with the upside of Lauri Markkanen, I just haven't enough of it. I'm gonna cut.
Well, I think Lauri Markkanen is in a system where he can actually be used to his strengths, right? We already talked about that. Like Jim Boylan had no business coaching the Chicago Bulls. He's not a NBA coach, and he misused Lauri Markkanen to the point where we questioned Lauri Markkanen altogether. Right?
All right, last one. Mike Conley, Kyle Lowry, Kemba Walker. Start bench cut.
Well, I'm cutting Kemba Walker because he can't even get on the floor right now. Like he literally, like he made like he.
Let me. Okay, so I originally had Paul in the place in the case of Walker, but I already used Paul earlier, and I was trying to figure out a way I could make this work earlier. I couldn't find a way to move Paul into this conversation while not having him in the other one. Let's just replace him with Chris Paul. Conley, Lowry, Chris Paul. Start bench cut.
No, I like the Kemba Walker one better because I'm cutting him. Like he made the executive decision to, I'm just gonna sit out. Yeah, you ain't gonna play me. I'm just gonna sit out the rest of the season. Like I'm just do us both a favor. And like just like Russ, so Kemba going to New York, that's a homecoming for him. And you can literally make the decision or make the argument because how south the Knicks season has gone, right? And because of how bad the Lakers have been, it has allowed this issue to just literally slide under that, right? Like like how people talk about the Lakers, people talk about the Knicks too. Like, bro, like you're the New York Knicks, right? You play in like you're the Mecca, right? You play in the Garden, right? And no one's talking about them. Not a soul. No one's talking about them. So I'm cutting Kemba. I am, who are the other two?
Mike Conley, Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, in that order. Mike Conley, Kyle Lowry, and Kemba. Yeah, that order. That works for me.
Yeah, I'm starting Mike Conley. I'm benching Kyle Lowry. I'm for sure cutting Kemba Walker. His tenure in New York nothing short of a disaster. There's no other way to categorize it. But yeah, that's been the crossover. Bringing you the dog days of the NBA season. You know, we broke down what's going on with the Bulls, what's going on with the Golden State Warriors. We talked about the future of Russell Westbrook. Thank you very much for joining us here at Prime Sports World. I'm David Huffman, right there. TJ Hopkins. TJ, what do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat. And is it cold outside? I'm thinking about going
windy
outside.
Windy as shit outside.
It's about 42 degrees. Yeah, that's
it's pretty windy. It's supposed to rain. So
if
you have any plans?
I think it's raining out here. I think it's raining out here right now. And I might go DoorDash because I need the money.
I feel you, man. Well, you have a good weekend, man. I'll see you on Monday, brother.
See you, man. Enjoy the tournament.
I'm going to. I've enjoyed it last night a lot, so let's keep it rolling. I'll see you later, brother.